There comes a profound moment in every woman's life when she looks in the mirror and realizes that her own voice, her own needs, and her own dreams have been neglected for too long. For years she may have sought validation from others, partners, friends, family, or society, allowing their opinions to define her worth. She may have silenced her own desires, compromised her own values, and tolerated situations that drained her energy and spirit. But the day she chooses herself, truly and unapologetically, something extraordinary happens. It is as if the universe takes notice, aligning everything around her in ways she never expected. This choice, though simple in description, is monumental in its impact, because it signals the awakening of self-respect, self-love, and self-mastery. Choosing oneself is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of courage. It is the courageous declaration that her happiness, growth, and well-being are no longer negotiable. For too long she may have believed that prioritizing herself meant being unkind, unloving, or arrogant. Society has a way of convincing women that their worth is measured by their service to others, by their ability to endure discomfort, and by their willingness to sacrifice their joy for the comfort of others. But when a woman chooses herself, she breaks free from these illusions. She recognizes that her energy is sacred, and that giving without replenishing leads to depletion, resentment, and stagnation. The first transformation that occurs when a woman chooses herself is an immediate shift in energy. She begins to radiate confidence, because she is no longer seeking permission to exist fully. There is a new strength in the way she carries herself, a quiet authority that demands respect without raising her voice. People around her notice it, even if they do not understand it. This energy is magnetic. Those who are aligned with positivity, respect, and growth are naturally drawn to her. Those who are accustomed to taking advantage of her will feel the distance and the boundaries she now sets. Choosing herself is like turning on a light in a previously dark room. Some will feel warmth, others will be blinded by it. The second change is clarity. When a woman finally chooses herself, she becomes clear about her priorities. She can distinguish between what serves her growth and what drains her. She can see relationships that are reciprocal and those that are toxic. She no longer hesitates to walk away from situations that compromise her integrity or diminish her spirit. This clarity is liberating because it allows her to invest her time and energy in things that truly matter: her dreams, her passions, her well-being, and the people who uplift her. No longer distracted by drama, manipulation, or unnecessary approval seeking, she moves forward with intention. The third transformation is empowerment through boundaries. Choosing herself means she begins to say no without guilt. She realizes that every yes she gives at the expense of her own peace is a theft of her energy. By asserting her boundaries, she protects her emotional, mental, and physical space. This is not about pushing others away arbitrarily. It is about prioritizing herself and honoring her own limits. Boundaries become her armor, and the respect she commands is a reflection of the respect she finally grants to herself. People may react with resistance at first, but over time they adjust to the new standard she has set, and life becomes smoother because her interactions are now guided by mutual respect rather than compromise. The fourth effect is a heightened sense of self-love and self-worth. For many women, choosing themselves is a radical act of reclamation. It is the first time in a long time that she tells herself, "I matter, my dreams matter, my happiness matters." With this declaration comes an inner peace that no external circumstance can shake. She learns to honor her own needs without seeking validation or apology. She stops defining herself through the lens of others' expectations and starts living according to her own truth. This self-love acts as a filter for all aspects of her life: the people she allows close, the projects she dedicates her energy to, and the ways in which she nurtures her body, mind, and soul. The fifth transformation is liberation from guilt. Society often teaches women that choosing themselves is synonymous with selfishness. But the moment she internalizes the understanding that self-care is essential, guilt dissolves. She begins to recognize that her happiness is not a betrayal of others. It is an invitation for them to see the power of autonomy and self-respect. She becomes a model of conscious living, showing by example that fulfillment comes not from sacrificing oneself endlessly, but from integrating one's needs and desires with mindful relationships and purposeful action. The sixth effect is the awakening of intuition and inner guidance. A woman who chooses herself begins to trust her instincts. She no longer doubts her decisions because of external pressure or fear of judgment. She listens to her inner voice, which has always been there, patiently waiting for her to prioritize it. This heightened intuition allows her to make decisions that are aligned with her highest good, rather than being influenced by fear, manipulation, or societal expectations. Her choices become deliberate, powerful, and transformative, creating ripple effects in her life that touch every area: career, relationships, health, and personal growth. The seventh, and perhaps most profound transformation, is freedom. When a woman finally chooses herself, she experiences a liberation that is indescribable. She walks through life unchained from the need to please, to prove, or to perform for anyone. Her authenticity becomes her compass, and her life begins to reflect the essence of who she truly is. This freedom is magnetic, drawing opportunities, people, and experiences that align with her highest vision. Those who were holding her back, through control, expectations, or judgment, either step aside or are naturally filtered out of her life. What remains is alignment, joy, and clarity. And in this space, the universe conspires to support her journey. Choosing herself also invites a sense of gratitude and fulfillment. She recognizes the value of every experience, including those that once caused pain, because they were part of the journey to self-realization. She no longer measures success by external metrics or societal approval, but by the richness of her inner life. Every decision made from self-respect, every boundary enforced with confidence, and every pursuit aligned with her truth reinforces her sense of purpose and power. Her life becomes a testament to the transformative energy that arises when one prioritizes oneself with intention and courage. Finally, when a woman chooses herself, she inspires others. Her courage, strength, and clarity serve as a beacon for those around her. People, particularly other women, see that it is possible to step into one's own power, to reclaim one's voice, and to live authentically. She becomes a living example of the profound impact of self-love and conscious living. The choice to honor herself is not merely personal, it reverberates outward, influencing families, communities, and even future generations, leaving a legacy of empowerment and resilience. When a woman finally chooses herself, she begins to reclaim the power that she may have unknowingly surrendered over the years. For so long, she may have believed that her worth was measured by her ability to meet the expectations of others, to maintain appearances, and to placate those around her. She may have adapted her dreams, her voice, and even her spirit to fit into molds that were not meant for her. But the moment she decides that her own life, her own happiness, and her own potential are worth honoring, everything begins to change. This choice is subtle at first, almost imperceptible to those around her, but it carries a ripple effect so profound that it transforms her relationships, her energy, and the trajectory of her life. Choosing herself is not an event, it is a process. It begins with awareness. She becomes conscious of how often she has ignored her instincts, neglected her needs, or allowed her boundaries to be crossed. She notices the fatigue, the resentment, and the dissatisfaction that have quietly accumulated in her heart. And in this awareness, she finds courage. The courage to prioritize herself without apology, the courage to let go of what no longer serves her, and the courage to embrace her own truth. This awareness is a form of awakening, a moment in which she realizes that the power to shape her life has always resided within her. The first shift that occurs is the awakening of confidence. Confidence, born not from validation or recognition, but from self-acceptance and self-respect. She no longer waits for someone else to acknowledge her worth, she claims it for herself. This internal confidence radiates outward, influencing how she walks, how she speaks, and how she engages with the world. People notice it immediately. Some may feel threatened by this new energy, while others are inspired and drawn to it. Her confidence is not loud or boastful, it is steady, grounded, and magnetic. It signals that she has chosen herself, and that she will no longer compromise her authenticity for the comfort of others. With confidence comes clarity. She begins to see her life from a new perspective. Patterns that were once invisible become clear. She recognizes relationships that are supportive and nurturing, and she identifies those that are draining, manipulative, or toxic. She begins to understand that not every battle is hers to fight, and that some situations are better left behind. This clarity is liberating. It allows her to invest her time and energy into what truly matters, to focus on her dreams, and to cultivate connections that bring mutual respect and joy. Her life, once cluttered by indecision and compromise, now moves with purpose and direction. Another transformation is the creation of boundaries. Choosing herself means that she learns to say no when necessary, without guilt or explanation. She understands that her time, her energy, and her emotional well-being are precious, and she no longer gives them away carelessly. These boundaries are not walls to isolate herself from the world. They are safeguards that protect her peace, integrity, and focus. By establishing limits, she teaches others how to treat her, and creates a life that aligns with her values. People who respect her boundaries are drawn closer, while those who attempt to violate them are naturally filtered out. Boundaries become a declaration: her life is hers, and she will no longer settle for less than she deserves. The choice to prioritize herself also sparks an intense awakening of self-love. She begins to nurture herself in ways that she may have neglected for years. She listens to her body, honors her mind, and tends to her spirit. Self-care is no longer a luxury, it becomes a non-negotiable necessity. She learns to celebrate her victories, forgive her mistakes, and embrace her uniqueness. In this space, self-love becomes a powerful magnet that attracts experiences and people who resonate with her energy. She no longer tolerates criticism or judgment that undermines her confidence. Instead, she embraces feedback that supports her growth and aligns with her vision. When a woman chooses herself, she also experiences freedom from societal pressures, from the need for constant approval, and from the expectations that have constrained her for so long. This freedom allows her to make decisions based on her own values, desires, and intuition, rather than external influence. It allows her to pursue passions, explore opportunities, and embrace experiences without fear of judgment. Freedom is not chaos, it is the deliberate alignment of her life with her truth, a liberation that empowers her to thrive fully and unapologetically. Trust becomes another gift of choosing oneself. She begins to trust her instincts, her decisions, and her judgment. She no longer relies on the opinions of others to validate her choices. This trust is profound, for it allows her to navigate challenges and uncertainties with calm assurance. Life does not intimidate her. Instead, she approaches it with curiosity, confidence, and resilience. She knows that mistakes are not failures. They are lessons that strengthen her ability to make wiser choices in the future. By trusting herself, she fosters a deeper sense of inner peace and stability that others can sense and admire. Another transformation is the realignment of relationships. When she chooses herself, she naturally begins to attract people who respect her energy and values. Those who are aligned with positivity, growth, and authenticity are drawn closer, while those who seek to control, diminish, or manipulate her are repelled. She no longer feels obligated to please everyone or maintain relationships that drain her. Instead, she cultivates connections that are mutually empowering, nurturing, and respectful. Her life becomes a reflection of her inner transformation, and the people who inhabit it mirror her strength, clarity, and confidence. Choosing herself also fosters emotional resilience. She learns to process disappointment, rejection, and challenges without compromising her integrity. She recognizes that her worth is not dependent on external circumstances or the approval of others. She develops the capacity to navigate life's ups and downs with grace, patience, and perspective. This resilience allows her to face adversity without fear, knowing that she has the inner resources to adapt, recover, and thrive. Her emotional strength becomes a foundation for every aspect of her life, enabling her to pursue her goals without hesitation. Finally, when a woman chooses herself, she becomes a source of inspiration and empowerment for others. Her courage, clarity, and self-respect serve as a model for those around her, particularly other women who may feel trapped by societal expectations, fear, or self-doubt. By choosing herself, she demonstrates that happiness, fulfillment, and success are possible when one honors their own needs and dreams. Her life becomes a testament to the transformative power of self-prioritization, courage, and conscious living, leaving a ripple effect that touches families, communities, and generations. When a woman finally chooses herself, a profound transformation begins within her. This is not merely a shift in behavior or routine, it is a realignment of her entire being, a declaration to the universe that she will no longer negotiate her value or compromise her integrity for the comfort of others. For years, She may have been conditioned to put everyone else first, to seek validation from partners, family, and society, believing that her worth is determined by how much she sacrifices. But choosing herself is an awakening to a higher truth. Her energy, her dreams, and her happiness are not optional. They are essential. The moment she decides to honor them, everything around her begins to change in ways that are both subtle and profound. Choosing herself begins with acknowledgement. She looks honestly at the patterns in her life, the people who drain her, the circumstances that keep her stagnant, and the compromises that chip away at her spirit. She sees the ways she has silenced her own voice, ignored her needs, and postponed her growth to fit into molds that were never meant for her. In this acknowledgement, she finds clarity. She realizes that no one else can live her life for her, and that waiting for permission, validation, or acceptance is a trap. The recognition that she alone is responsible for her happiness becomes the catalyst for transformation. The first transformation she experiences is liberation from external approval. When she chooses herself, she no longer seeks to please others at the expense of her peace. She stops measuring her worth by the opinions of others and begins to define it by her own standards. This is not arrogance, it is sovereignty. Her energy shifts, people notice it immediately. Those who respect and support her are drawn closer, while those who attempt to manipulate or control her are naturally distanced. Choosing herself creates an invisible boundary that protects her from unnecessary drama and emotional drain, allowing her life to move forward with intention rather than distraction. Another profound change is the cultivation of self-confidence. Confidence arises not from external accolades, but from an inner alignment with truth. She begins to trust her instincts, embrace her unique qualities, and make decisions based on her own insight, rather than the fear of judgment. This confidence is magnetic and commanding. It allows her to walk through life with grace and assertiveness, knowing that she is enough exactly as she is. The world may challenge her, misunderstand her, or even resist her rise, but her newfound self-assurance anchors her in every encounter, every choice, and every step she takes. Boundaries become an essential tool in her life. Choosing herself means she learns to say no without guilt, to prioritize her energy, and to protect her mental and emotional space. These boundaries are not walls built from fear, they are structures built from self-respect and clarity. She understands that each time she compromises herself for the comfort of others, she sacrifices her energy, her peace, and her potential. By enforcing these boundaries, she teaches others how to engage with her respectfully and consciously. This is a revolutionary act because it communicates strength without confrontation, and it ensures that her life is structured around her values, not the expectations of those who cannot see her worth. Choosing herself also awakens a deep sense of self-love. She begins to nurture her mind, body, and soul intentionally. She recognizes that self-care is not indulgent, it is necessary. She honors her physical well-being, invests in her personal growth, and allows herself to experience joy without apology. Self-love becomes the lens through which she views the world. It enables her to discern what and who serves her highest good and what drains her energy. This love for herself radiates outward, influencing her relationships, her work, and her presence in the world. She no longer tolerates toxicity, manipulation, or disrespect because she knows her energy is sacred. The act of choosing herself also fosters clarity and decisiveness. With self-love, confidence, and boundaries, she gains a remarkable ability to see her path clearly. Decisions that once felt overwhelming or ambiguous now align naturally with her purpose and desires. She no longer hesitates due to fear of judgment or the need to please others. She moves with intention, knowing that every step she takes in alignment with her values strengthens her path and attracts opportunities and people who resonate with her energy. This clarity is liberating. It allows her to invest her time, energy, and focus where it matters most. When a woman chooses herself, she also experiences emotional liberation. She no longer allows guilt, fear, or societal expectations to dictate her choices. She accepts that prioritizing her well-being is not selfish. It is essential. She learns to let go of the need to explain, justify, or defend her choices, understanding that her inner peace is far more valuable than external validation. This emotional freedom empowers her to navigate challenges, disappointments, and even criticism with grace and resilience. She becomes a master of her own energy, refusing to allow others to drain or dictate it. Another powerful transformation is her ability to attract alignment. When a woman finally chooses herself, she naturally begins to draw into her life those who honor her energy, values, and boundaries. People who are supportive, loving, and growth-oriented are magnetically pulled toward her, while those who are draining, manipulative, or negative are filtered out. This realignment of relationships creates a life filled with reciprocity, respect, and genuine connection. She no longer needs to chase attention or approval. Instead, her authenticity and self-respect naturally draw people and opportunities that resonate with her highest potential. Choosing herself also strengthens her resilience. Life is not without challenges, but a woman who prioritizes herself faces obstacles with courage and composure. She understands that setbacks do not define her worth. They are lessons that shape her wisdom, deepen her strength, and reinforce her independence. She learns to navigate adversity with perspective and patience. Knowing that her energy is finite and precious, she invests it in solutions, growth, and meaningful action rather than being consumed by frustration or resentment. Finally, when a woman chooses herself, she becomes a source of inspiration. Her courage, clarity, and authenticity serve as a beacon for others, particularly for those who have struggled to honor their own worth. She demonstrates that it is possible to live unapologetically, to prioritize one's dreams, and to reclaim energy and joy without compromising integrity. Her life becomes a testament to the transformative power of self-prioritization, showing that true happiness, freedom, and fulfillment come not from pleasing others, but from honoring oneself fully. Her choice inspires change, encourages empowerment, and creates ripples that extend far beyond her immediate world. When a woman finally chooses herself, it is as though a veil has been lifted, revealing the truth of her own strength, her own desires, and her own potential. For too long, she may have lived in the shadows of others' expectations, bending, compromising, and silencing herself to maintain harmony, approval, or affection. She may have believed that her voice, her dreams, and her needs were secondary, that her worth was measured by the comfort or happiness she provided to others. But the moment she decides to choose herself, everything changes. It is a powerful act of courage, a declaration that her life, her energy, and her happiness are not optional. They are non-negotiable. This choice sets in motion a transformation that affects every aspect of her being, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. Choosing herself begins with self-awareness. She looks inward, acknowledging the times she has neglected her own needs, compromised her values, or allowed her energy to be drained. She recognizes the patterns in her life that have kept her small or diminished her sense of self. This awareness is the first step toward liberation because it allows her to see clearly where she has been giving away her power and where she needs to reclaim it. In this moment, she understands that she alone is responsible for the direction of her life and the preservation of her peace. The first transformation is a profound sense of freedom. Freedom from the need to please everyone, freedom from the fear of judgment, and freedom from the chains of societal expectations. She begins to make choices that reflect her own desires, values, and goals, rather than those imposed upon her by others. This freedom is not chaos, it is intentional living. Every decision she makes is guided by clarity, authenticity, and alignment with her highest self. She no longer feels guilt for prioritizing herself. Instead, she experiences a deep sense of liberation, a knowing that honoring her own life is the most courageous and empowering act she can perform. Confidence emerges as a natural consequence of this choice. She walks differently, speaks differently, and engages with the world from a place of authority and self-assurance. This confidence is quiet, not loud or brash, yet it commands respect. It is the kind of confidence that comes from knowing one's value, from trusting one's instincts, and from acting in alignment with truth. People sense it immediately. Some may be inspired, some may feel challenged, but none can ignore it. Her presence becomes magnetic, attracting opportunities and people that resonate with her energy, while naturally filtering out those who do not align with her integrity. Boundaries become her second tool of empowerment. Choosing herself teaches her that every yes she gives must be intentional, and every no is a declaration of self-respect. She learns to protect her emotional and mental space, understanding that her energy is finite and sacred. These boundaries are not built from fear or defensiveness, they are built from clarity, strength, and conscious choice. She no longer tolerates relationships or circumstances that compromise her peace. By defining what is acceptable in her life, she sets the standard for how others must treat her, and she experiences a life that is more aligned, purposeful, and harmonious as a result. The third transformation is emotional resilience. When a woman chooses herself, she learns to navigate life's challenges without losing her center. She faces setbacks, criticism, and disappointment with grace, recognizing that her worth is not defined by external circumstances. She no longer allows herself to be consumed by resentment or fear, because she has cultivated the ability to process emotions consciously, learning from each experience while maintaining her equilibrium. This resilience becomes a foundation for growth, enabling her to pursue her ambitions and desires without hesitation, even in the face of adversity. Choosing herself also awakens a heightened sense of intuition and inner guidance. She begins to trust her instincts, understanding that her inner voice has always been a source of wisdom. She no longer doubts her decisions based on others' opinions or external pressures. Instead, she acts deliberately, guided by her own clarity and understanding. This alignment with intuition empowers her to make choices that are in her best interest, leading to outcomes that reflect her highest potential. Life begins to flow more smoothly because her decisions are rooted in authenticity rather than fear, obligation, or societal expectation. Another powerful effect of choosing herself is the transformation of relationships. By prioritizing her own needs and boundaries, she naturally attracts individuals who respect her energy and values. Those who are supportive, loving, and aligned with her growth are drawn closer, while those who seek to manipulate, control, or drain her are filtered out. This realignment of her social sphere creates a life filled with meaningful connections and reciprocal relationships. She no longer seeks validation from others because she understands that her worth is inherent. Her interactions are guided by authenticity and conscious choice, fostering deeper, more fulfilling relationships. Self-love is amplified when a woman chooses herself. She nurtures her body, mind, and soul intentionally, recognizing that taking care of herself is not indulgent, it is essential. She celebrates her achievements, forgives her missteps, and honors her uniqueness. This self-love becomes a lens through which she perceives the world, allowing her to approach life with compassion, confidence, and clarity. She no longer tolerates disrespect, negativity, or toxic energy because she has cultivated a deep understanding of her value and the sacredness of her energy. Choosing herself also brings clarity and purpose. She begins to see her path with unprecedented precision, understanding what aligns with her goals and what detracts from them. Her decisions are no longer clouded by fear, doubt, or external expectation. Instead, they are intentional, deliberate, and aligned with her higher self. This clarity allows her to focus her energy on pursuits that bring fulfillment, growth, and joy, creating a life that reflects her authentic desires. Finally, when a woman chooses herself, she becomes an inspiration. Her courage, clarity, and authenticity serve as a guiding light for others, particularly women who may have struggled to honor their own worth. By living unapologetically and prioritizing her own needs, she demonstrates that fulfillment, freedom, and happiness are achievable when one honors themselves fully. Her life becomes a testament to the transformative power of self-prioritization, leaving a ripple effect that extends far beyond her immediate world. When a woman finally chooses herself, the impact is nothing short of transformative. It is a declaration of sovereignty, a commitment to her own life, and a radical act of self-love. For years, she may have navigated life through the expectations of others, partners, family, friends, and society, suppressing her desires, silencing her voice, and denying her own dreams. She may have tolerated disrespect, betrayal, and imbalance, believing that her worth was dependent on her ability to endure and accommodate. But the day she decides that her own energy, happiness, and purpose are non-negotiable, everything shifts. This choice ripples through every dimension of her existence, changing her energy, her relationships, her self-perception, and ultimately the trajectory of her life. The first transformation is the awakening of self-respect. Choosing herself is an acknowledgement that her time, energy, and presence are precious. She no longer allows herself to be diminished by people or circumstances that do not honor her. Each decision she makes from this place of awareness is a declaration that she will no longer compromise her standards or her peace. This self-respect is not defensive or aggressive, it is steady, calm, and magnetic. It signals to the world that she values herself enough to protect her boundaries, prioritize her needs, and align her life with her truth. Those around her instinctively recognize this energy, and life begins to reflect her newfound strength. Confidence naturally follows. When she chooses herself, she begins to trust her voice, her instincts, and her judgment. She stops seeking validation from others and starts standing firmly in her own truth. Her confidence is quiet yet commanding, a presence that draws respect and admiration without needing to shout or demand it. It allows her to navigate challenges and opportunities with clarity, grace, and authority. She is no longer swayed by fear, manipulation, or societal pressures, because she has recognized that her inner guidance is her most reliable compass. Boundaries become a fundamental tool in her transformation. Saying no is no longer an act of defiance, it is an act of self-preservation. She understands that every moment spent accommodating others at the expense of her own well-being is a moment lost. By establishing and maintaining her boundaries, she protects her energy, cultivates healthy relationships, and attracts experiences aligned with her values. People naturally learn to respect her, and her interactions become more authentic, intentional, and fulfilling. Boundaries are no longer limitations, they are her liberation. Self-love deepens profoundly. She begins to nurture herself with intention, honoring her body, mind, and soul. She celebrates her victories, forgives her mistakes, and appreciates her uniqueness. Self-care becomes an act of reverence rather than indulgence. With self-love as her foundation, she no longer tolerates disrespect, manipulation, or negativity. Her energy becomes a magnet, drawing people, opportunities, and experiences that resonate with her values and vision. She recognizes that by loving herself fully, she creates a ripple effect that influences every aspect of her life. Emotional resilience emerges as a natural consequence of choosing herself. She learns to navigate disappointment, rejection, and challenges without losing her center. She understands that her worth is inherent and not contingent upon external validation. This resilience allows her to confront life's uncertainties with calm, patience, and determination. She no longer allows fear, guilt, or anger to dictate her choices. Instead, she responds with conscious awareness, knowing that her energy is too valuable to waste on unnecessary conflict or drama. Choosing herself also strengthens clarity and focus. She gains the ability to distinguish between what serves her growth and what diminishes her spirit. Decisions become easier because they are guided by alignment rather than fear or obligation. She invests her time and energy into pursuits that enrich her life, relationships, and purpose. The fog of indecision lifts, replaced by a clear vision of her path forward. Every choice becomes deliberate, intentional, and empowering, reinforcing her commitment to herself and her journey. Her relationships undergo a transformation. By choosing herself, she naturally attracts individuals who respect her energy and values, and distances herself from those who do not. She no longer tolerates imbalance, disrespect, or manipulation. Instead, she cultivates connections based on mutual respect, support, and growth. Her social sphere aligns with her inner state, reflecting the authenticity, clarity, and confidence she has cultivated within herself. These relationships nurture her growth and reinforce her commitment to living consciously and fully. Spiritual and intuitive growth intensifies. She begins to trust her inner guidance more profoundly, understanding that her instincts, emotions, and insights are reliable sources of wisdom. She listens to her intuition, honors her feelings, and acts deliberately, creating a life aligned with her highest good. This connection to self allows her to navigate challenges and opportunities with grace and assurance, knowing that her choices are in harmony with her true path. Finally, when a woman chooses herself, she becomes a living example of empowerment and inspiration. Her courage, clarity, and authenticity resonate with those around her, particularly women who may have struggled to honor their own worth. By prioritizing herself, she demonstrates that fulfillment, freedom, and joy are attainable when one honors their own life. Her actions create a ripple effect that touches families, communities, and even future generations. she shows that true strength is not measured by how much one sacrifices, but by how faithfully one honors oneself. This choice is not an endpoint, it is a continuous practice. Every day she recommits to herself, every decision becomes an affirmation of her worth, and every action reflects the values she holds dear. Choosing herself is a lifelong journey, an ongoing act of courage, clarity, and self-respect. It is the moment she no longer allows life to happen to her, but begins to shape it with intention and power. The moment a woman chooses herself, the universe responds, doors open, opportunities align, and energy flows more freely toward her purpose. The people she attracts are those who honor her spirit, challenge her growth, and elevate her experience. The challenges she faces are met with strength, clarity, and resilience. Her life becomes a testament to the transformative power of self-love, conscious choice, and unwavering commitment to her own path. When she chooses herself, she reclaims her energy, her voice, her dreams, and her power. She becomes unstoppable, not because she is impervious to challenges, but because she has learned that her greatest ally is her own unwavering commitment to her truth. The life she creates is not dictated by others, but by the alignment of her actions, her intentions, and her heart. She lives with freedom, joy, and authenticity. She inspires others silently, showing that true power lies not in pleasing, compromising, or controlling, but in honoring oneself fully and unapologetically.